Hey there, today is Monday, April the 18th. By the way, this is the day after we celebrated Easter, the redemption that Jesus gives us through the resurrection from the dead, as he died as a sacrifice for all people to forgive us, was buried in the tomb and resurrected to give us redemption so we could join his family, be a part of his kingdom. He would inherit his authority through his spirit. He redeemed us through the cross and through the empty tomb. That's powerful because today we start in the Old Testament reading the book of Ruth. Ruth chapter 1 and chapter 2 is our reading, along with, by the way, Acts chapter 3. But Ruth 1 and 2 is what I want to bring your attention to because we celebrate yesterday the redemption Jesus gives us through the cross and through the empty tomb. Today, we read about Ruth, who's redeemed through a kinsman redeemer. Check this out. In Ruth chapter 1, we have a lady named Naomi. We have two of her daughters-in-law, and they are all alone, these three ladies. And Naomi says to her daughters-in-law, who are not Jews, go back to your people. You return to your people, go back. Go and live a happy life. Go remarry and do these things. And one goes, but Ruth, she looks at Naomi, and she says, don't urge me to leave. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people. Your God, my God. She effectively makes a choice to join the people of God. And she's redeemed through a man named Boaz. We'll read about that later on. A man named Boaz. But it goes deeper than that. Actually, I was reminded of this little fact. If you flip ahead to the Gospel of Matthew, I know I'm skipping out of the Old Testament for a second, but hear me out. In the Gospel of Matthew, it tells us the genealogy of Jesus as he came. And you read the genealogy of Jesus, the family line, all the way from Abraham through David, all the way through the exiles, all the way to Mary, where he's born, and Joseph who raised him when Jesus is born. In the middle of it, there's some interesting people that show up in the genealogy of Jesus. For instance, right here in Matthew 1, verse number 5, Salmon was the father of Boaz. Now remember, Boaz is over here in the book of Ruth. He's the kinsman redeemer that redeems Ruth into the family of God. Now in Matthew, it says he was the father of Boaz. Now Boaz's mother was none other than Rahab. If you remember way back in earlier things we've read in the Old Testament, when the people of God come into the promised land, into the land of Canaan, the first city they encounter is Jericho, with its thick walls, tall walls, well fortified, and they march around the city silently, and they cry out on the last day, the walls fall down, and they take the city. Remember that fantastic battle, that victory that God had for the people, but before that, some spies had gone into Jericho to check the place out, and they ran into a lady, none other than Rahab, a Gentile, a prostitute nonetheless. They run into Rahab. Rahab hides them, protects them, rescues them from people that were trying to catch them. And then when the people of God come back, Rahab throws a red cord out her window, a scarlet cord out her window. And when the people get there and the battle is won, God delivers all of Jericho into his people's hands, but he spares Rahab, and Rahab goes with the people of God as they travel on into the promised land. It says Rahab went with them. She assimilated into their family, into the kingdom of God's people. She went with them and became one of them. And then Boaz, her son, would be the one to redeem Ruth, also a Gentile, someone far from God. And then Ruth joins the genealogy. Boaz, the father of Obed, whose mother was Ruth. She joins the family line that Jesus came from. This is why it's important to me to note this. I talk all the time about the power of you sharing the good news of Jesus, about speaking the words of Jesus to other people. And sometimes we feel like we're unqualified, we're not ready enough, we're not good enough, we don't have the right words or education, whatever it is. And I want you to know that you are perfectly poised to share the words of Jesus because you have been redeemed by Jesus. You are a follower of Jesus because somebody you know knew Jesus first, and they redeemed you into Jesus by introducing you to him. And now it's your turn to somebody else who's outside the family of God, and you get to introduce Jesus to redeem them in. In Paul's words, he speaks to Timothy in the New Testament. He says, Timothy, you take the words I've told you. You entrust them to reliable witnesses that will be faithful to teach others. Paul to Timothy to witnesses to others. There's 4 generations of people joining the kingdom of God. You have Rahab to Boaz to Ruth to her children. There's generations happening. There's the person that introduced you to Jesus. There's you. And there's somebody that's waiting. They're dying to know the good news of Jesus. So you go, speak the words. You let Jesus redeem them through your words so that you can continue the family line of Jesus, build his kingdom, build his family, and let his will be done. You go be a redeemer of somebody else. Till I see you again, you are sent.